Free speech is alive and well in dementia units, with very little censorship. If dementia residents like you, they'll applaud, but if not, they'll say, "You're boring, enough of that, we don't want any more of it." So it can be quite difficult if you get this treatment at the end of a hard day and you're not in the mood to rise above it. But the thing is, it's a good system for social regulation across the board, because as dementia residents say, we all have to have our say, and we don't want just one person going on and on. And because of this social censorship and people speaking up and telling you to calm down and cool it if you've said enough, or likewise, if people aren't saying enough and they're too quiet, they'll be encouraged to speak up and have their say. And everyone will listen and let that person say what they want to say at that particular moment, and encourage them all the way through that process. Because many dementia residents, of course, find it difficult to speak. Even those that speak up and speak a lot are appreciative and empathetic about the fact that there's many colleagues, many friends, many people in dementia units who find it difficult to speak. So when they see that someone in this category is really making the effort to speak, often for the first time, they will definitely back off, encourage and support. But if there's competitors in the ring and other speakers in the ring who are good and articulate and proactive, then they will challenge that, but not with the inarticulate speakers. So in that way, it is a fair arena, and it's a good social system, social fairness, social awareness, and it's their own little framework. It's their own system. It's not a political system. It's a people system where everyone's working together to do the very best they can to enable social equity and equality. And actually, it's a really good system developed by the people, for the people. A very good system by the people, for the people, that's it. So they have developed their own little system. Now, how I know this is because I got the brunt of this quite a lot when I was working at this particular facility. I made quite a lot of effort throughout the week to come up with what I thought was interesting topics for the dementia residents, bearing in mind their interests and their framework and their personalities and what I thought they'd like. And often I got it right, but often I didn't. And if I didn't get the topic that they liked, even after all this work, they'd say, "No, don't like that, boring, had enough." Oh. And so I would just have to go back and rethink and redevelop something completely and utterly different, because there was no point having a workshop on a topic they were not interested in, because it wouldn't work. It wouldn't capture their interest, their engagement, their concentration, or anything in terms of depth of thinking. So it really wasn't worth going ahead with. It would have just been lip service. Nothing valuable would have been gained. So I had to go back to the drawing board all the time for topics, to get topics of interest. But once I did manage to capture the topics that did interest the residents and they did engage, it really was a fantastic experience. But it was quite challenging at times, I have to say. But the result of it was that the residents got the topics, the information that they wanted, and that really is the main object of the exercise. So they developed their own framework. Now, the topics that they most liked was being positive. That was the big topic. Being confident, and anything to do with animals, especially David Attenborough, because of his lovely, calm, mellow voice, and the subtitles at the pace of his voice they could read, and all those beautiful, wonderful, exotic animals. And of course the crown, because beautiful Queen Elizabeth, their queen, their life, their history. So these topics, and technology, actually that was a really interesting one, I thought, because the last 100 years, many of these dementia residents being in their early 90s, so a century, practically a century that they've lived. So this is when all the technological changes happened. So right back from telegraph, telephone, telegram, television, they'd been through the works. So to them, iPhone, iPad, just another change. And they were always really, really interested in technology. Anything to do with technology they loved. So once you garnered these topics of interest, it was so good, because even those residents that were disturbing, they could still be disturbing, I have to say, but they'd tailor it a little bit. But once the topic of interest was gained, then, and everyone was concentrating, aside from the odd disturbing resident, and even they would calm down sometimes, other than that, the place went quiet. Everyone was focusing, concentrating. No one was challenging each other. No one was calling out. And for that time, when that concentration was garnered, people were able to quieten their minds, settle their negative thinking, develop the positive thinking, develop the focus, the concentration on the topic at hand as a group, and join in together to bring about a really lovely experience on the topic at hand. Just one small thing. It could just be the little baby elephant in Africa swinging its trunk amidst all the other big mother elephants and father elephants trying to find water in Africa. Now, everyone's present, everyone's focused, and everyone's concentrating on the little elephant. Is it going to find water? Africa, the desert, the challenges, the hardship, and here they are, sitting in a lovely warm lounge, just had a cup of tea, just had a cake, they've had a good sleep, they've got their home, and here's that little elephant having to walk hundreds and hundreds of miles just to find water. When they think of that and they're present with that, they consider that their situation is a good one, and they've got that compassion and care and empathy for that little elephant. All their goodwill goes to that little elephant, and all of a sudden they're feeling at one with the world. And that's what presence does. That's what thinking in the moment does, and that's what focus and concentration does. And when they get that beautiful experience of being at one with wildlife and the elephants in Africa and the big, wonderful, wide, glorious world, which they can experience through that magnificent smart TV, then all their limitations and deprivations fade away, and they can have a lovely experience together. And that's why they love the workshops, and that's why they loved it, when they could get their positive thinking engaged and harnessed, and with great will they would hold that focus as long as they could to be able to settle and divert away from their dementia stress. And this effect could last for quite some time in a dementia unit. So I've written on all these topics in both books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit, all about the dementia residents' experiences and their trials and their tribulations and their challenges and how they rise to the challenge. You know, it's just remarkable the efforts that these marvellous, wonderful dementia residents have made. So to learn all about that, and it's also got the report in the centre of the book about this work and these dementia residents being able to divert their thinking away from their dementia stress through to positive thinking, concentration and focus, and then the end of the book being on the positive practical techniques for relatives to be able to help their family in dementia units. So thank you so much for your subscriptions and your likes and your interest and your enthusiasm. It's really encouraging from my side, and all those subscriptions, those new subscriptions, it's fantastic. And please, those of you watching the channel who haven't subscribed, if you can, it's a great help for building the platform. Thank you.